Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming here this evening to get a better understanding of how we use and abuse palm oil. My name is Simran Sethi. I'm a journalist and I'm the Associate Professor of Journalism at the University of Kansas. And I suspect, were it not for this forum, that you wouldn't have known that over 50% of products on your local grocery store shelf contain palm oil. Jeffrey?
Well, I feel like I got to say something hopeful.
You do. You are the inspired protagonist.
About 5 years ago, in the center of Brazil, Cargill built a soy processing plant. There was not a lot of soy being grown in that part of Brazil, but they knew that if they put the processing plant there, farmers would come from all over, cut down the rainforest, and grow soy. A campaign against Cargill successfully shut the plant down. So it is possible. I visited there a couple of years ago as part of an effort to try to do that. And the pressure that was brought to bear on Cargill, which is a private company, did succeed in having them shut that plant down. So if we care enough, if we are strategic enough, if we exert pressure, we can bring about change. So as dire as the situation is, don't let that take away from your commitment and enthusiasm and belief that we can make a positive difference.
And while folks are coming up to the mic, I'll go ahead and read one of those questions. This comes from Jennifer at Everyday Organic, and she asks, what options does the average consumer have in making responsible choices in this area? So it's a real follow-up to sort of what we've been discussing. What advice do you have for those of us convincing the millions of busy, broke people out there to think twice about palm oil and other ingredients? I'd like to direct this to Jeffrey or Michael.
Well, you know, life is complicated. We got to make choices. It's clear to me, both because of the devastation that this has on people's lives and on the ecosystem, as well as the impact of global warming, that this is just one of the things we have to choose to focus on. You know, when certain chemicals scare people and they want to stay away from them, they do the due diligence and buy products that are safe. So I think this is just a choice we have to make. We have to say, you know, this is a critical issue. This is an issue we got to focus on, and you know, make it one of the 5 things you do. You know, we can't do 1,000 things, and we probably can't do 100 things, but we can choose. We choose to eat organic. We choose to eat safe fish that's sustainably harvested. Palm oil just has to be something that is at the top of our list.
So I feel a bit of deja vu with the whole enthusiasm behind corn-based ethanol and saying that this is a great thing for sustainability, and then a few years later, wait, we haven't really taken into account all of the ecological costs. And it seems like it's a similar story with palm oil in that in some cases we were trying to do the right thing in promoting a more natural product per se. So my question is, what sort of different due diligence do we do to prevent this kind of thing in the future when we're trying to do the right thing and we end up causing more harm?
You know, one of the challenges is that we don't ask enough questions and we don't think systemically. So we make a very simple assumption that a renewable resource is better than a non-renewable resource, or that vegetable is better than petroleum. And unfortunately, those simplistic, non-systemic, not very thoughtful, black and white decisions can be wrong. And that we have to prevent ourselves from doing. We have to ask more questions.
I'm going to mash up 2 questions here that are also from the web. Many of the detergents we use say they're environmentally friendly, but don't list their ingredients. And then there's a follow-up: without full disclosure of ingredients in household products, how will we know if the product contains palm oil? Brilliant question. And then, can Whole Foods please place signs on shelves to help educate their consumers? and what products can we trust? So, gentlemen?
Well, unfortunately, there is no ingredient disclosure required on cleaning products or detergents. So the companies that do provide disclosure provide it voluntarily. I look at this very simplistically. If there is no ingredient list on the product, don't buy it, because there's a reason that the list isn't there. The people that are making the product don't want you to know. And if there isn't a complete list, a lot of people provide a partial list. They tell you the ingredients that they want you to know about, and they don't tell you about the ingredients they don't want you to know about. So if there isn't a statement that says we disclose all our ingredients, a proactive commitment with a complete list, I would say it's easy, don't buy it.
So, on that note, what ecologically friendly brands of products are the worst offenders, asks L. Lake.
Michael's going to answer that question.
You know, that was loaded, but I had to ask.
Well, you know, again, if it says environmentally friendly, doesn't mean anything. If it says non-toxic, it doesn't mean anything. If it says natural, it doesn't mean anything. So if there isn't a complete ingredient list, you can't even begin to make that determination. So I think that that is an important issue. You know, I think that there has been a campaign to also make sure that there's no dioxin residue in the surfactants, and you can find out that information online, whether the brands that are being sold labeled as natural do or don't have dioxane on in those chemicals. So, and you know, our approach really isn't to point our finger at who's bad, but to say, here's the standard. You should be using sustainable palm oil, and you should be disclosing all your ingredients, and if not, we just encourage consumers to not support those brands.
Or to ask. Thank you. Yes, sir.
As an undergraduate at Yale University, I work for the Yale Recycling Department, and we really believe that when people were given the right choice between, say, recycling and throwing something away, that they would make the right choice more often than not. Now, as a graduate student at Boston University, we're talking a lot about how people can lose sight of the things that are most important, the core values. I'd want to know if any of you would like to share any kind of tips or experiences that you had that would help you keep shared values at the core of your decision making on a daily, weekly, or monthly processes.
Our name makes it hard to forget, you know. When you have a name that insists that you think about the impact of your decisions on the next 7 generations, which you know you will never live up to, it creates that aspiration. And I also must say that we're very lucky to be able to have a dialogue with NGOs like RAND to keep us honest, because we're not going to be perfect. We're going to make mistakes. All businesses do. And we find that the kind of relationship we can have with an NGO like RAND that keeps pushing us to set a higher level and a higher bar is essential and very helpful.
And you will also, if any of your friends missed this and were not able to come here in person or join us on the web this evening, this webcast will be archived on the 7th Generation website. I want to thank all of you for coming and speaking your truth. I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. This can only be done if each of us takes that step. So please do sign the petition, contact your legislators, and look and see where your cookies, your chocolate, your shampoo, your biodiesel, and that whole host of products actually come from. Thank you all very much for joining us this evening, and have a great night.